Good morning. We'll get started in just a couple minutes once everyone has joined.
Buenos días, comenzaremos en unos minutos en cuanto todos se hayan unido.
We'll give it just another moment for folks to join us.
Solo esperamos unos minutos más en que se unan más personas.
All right. Before we start, everyone must pick a language channel. We have interpreters translating English to Spanish, and during our Q&A and comment session, we will have an interpreter translating Spanish to English. It is important that everyone, even participants wanting to attend in English, choose a language channel, either English or Spanish. Please stay in this channel for the whole session. Welcome, everyone. I'm Rachel Garcia, the Assistant Director of the Boulder Small Business Development Center, and I'm facilitating today's session.
Rachel, apologies. It's Gloria from the Commissioner's office. I think the globe. Oh, has the globe appeared for everybody? Claire, has it?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, it's
Great. Great. Okay, thank you. Sorry, apologies. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. So the Boulder SBDC is a nonprofit organization supporting small businesses in the county through confidential and no-cost one-to-one consulting, workshops and programs, and connections to partners and resources. This is the first of 3 listening sessions to share information about the upcoming minimum wage increase in unincorporated Boulder County. The format this morning will be a short presentation followed by questions and comments. The chat is turned off for this session, but questions about how the meeting will work or technical issues can be shared in the Q&A. If you have a question or comment to share about the local minimum wage, please raise your hand after the presentation using the option on the menu bar at the bottom of your screen, and we will promote you to panelist so you can ask your question or make your comment. When you are promoted to panelist, please remember to unmute yourself. Please note that this session will be recorded in English and Spanish and posted to the Boulder County Commissioners YouTube channel. As a reminder, the county would appreciate responses to its online survey in either English or Spanish by October 16th. And this can be found at www.boco.org/minimum wage. I will now hand it over to Boulder County Commissioner Claire Levy, who is leading the local minimum wage work for the Board of County Commissioners. She may call on her colleagues, Mark Rezin and Nick Robles, to assist with any answers during the Q&A. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. As Rachel said, I'm Claire Levy. I'm one of 3 county commissioners that govern Boulder County. And I want to start by thanking the Small Business Development Center and especially Rachel Garcia and Sharon King for partnering with Boulder County on these listening sessions and for facilitating this morning's session. So I am going to start by going through a couple of slides just to set the context for this webinar and for the actions that Boulder County will be taking later on. So you can see from the slide on the screen that the legislature in 2019 passed a bill that allows local governments to adopt a local minimum wage, which can be up to 15% higher than the state minimum wage. And it gives us various options under the law. One of those options is to consider whether to include unemancipated minors in this new local minimum wage. That is really, that and the amount of the increase are the 2 options that are available to us. The state tipped offset of $3.02 an hour must apply to a local minimum wage. We do not have the option of changing that amount, nor do we have the ability to carve out any type of business from that minimum wage. Next slide. So as I said, this local minimum wage law became effective in 2019, and Denver was the first local government to adopt their own minimum wage, going into effect on January 1st of 2020. And you can see on the screen here the minimum wage increase history for the state of Colorado going back to 2019, this city of Denver, city and county of Denver, and how they have set their minimum wage. And then you'll also see the city of Edgewater listed there. They passed a local minimum wage ordinance this year, which will go into effect on January 1st, 2024. And so you can see how that is projected for January 1st, 2024. Next slide. So why do this at all, and why do this now? That's the big question. So we heard from our family resource centers, which serve low-income families throughout Boulder County. We were hearing from them unprecedented demand for services from them. They provide emergency rental assistance. They each, the Our Center in Longmont, EFA in Boulder, and Sister Carmen in serving East County, Louisville, Lafayette, Erie. We're seeing just unprecedented demand at their food banks. And so that the pressures that low-income people were experiencing here in Boulder County, coupled with inflation and the rising cost of living, we were hearing increasingly that people were having trouble making ends meet. And the data here that you'll see on the slide, family of 4 needs the equivalent of 4 full-time minimum wage earners under current law just to meet their basic needs. So we felt it was very urgent to take action, and so have elected to do that effective January 1st, 2024. The Colorado Department of Labor and Employment was directed by statute to analyze the effect of local minimum wage increases, and they have found that since Denver adopted theirs, there has been no increase in unemployment. In fact, it dropped in Denver more relative to any comparable jurisdictions, and their sales tax revenues have continued to grow, indicating that Denver's actions have not affected their economy. Next slide, please. So what we are planning to do is raise the Boulder County minimum wage to $15.69 an hour, effective January 1st, 2024. This will only apply in unincorporated Boulder County. We do not have the power to adopt a minimum wage that affects all employers in Boulder County. So this will be all adult employees, and this says emancipated minors, but we will not distinguish between emancipated and unemancipated minors. So it will apply to all employees in unincorporated Boulder County. But the only provision is that they must work at least 4 hours a week in unincorporated Boulder County. So if a business is based, say, in Longmont, Lafayette, Louisville, City of Boulder, but their workers work in unincorporated Boulder County, say it's a landscape business, say it's a farm to table business, if they work at least 4 hours a week in unincorporated Boulder County, then they will be covered by our minimum wage. And enforcement will be done by the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, which is the state agency that enforces wage and hour laws for all employees in Boulder County. Next slide. And you may have heard that many of our local municipalities are also having conversations about adopting a minimum wage. They have determined not to do it until January 1st, 2025. And one issue that we would like input on relates to what the long-term wage should be. You can see here what Denver is proposing to do and how their minimum wage will be increasing over time. So one option is to just have it increase based on the annual consumer price index change. We're considering whether to have our minimum wage set so that it matches Denver's when we are legally allowed to do it. You'll recall we can only increase it by 15% a year. So we would have to look at how long it would take us to match Denver's minimum wage. Another proposal is to have it match up with the livable wage that Boulder County pays for its employees. Currently, our compensation package provides that no employee in Boulder County will earn less than $22.44 an hour. So that's another possibility, and we would have to calculate how quickly we can meet that $22.44. And another proposal that some of the advocates in the community have made is that the minimum wage should in fact be the self-sufficiency standard for Boulder County, which is the amount it takes for a person to meet all their basic needs without having to use public assistance. And that would be $25 an hour by 2020. So those are just the basic rules that we are governed by, just the background in terms of the bill that govern what we're allowed to do. And so I think now that we all are on the same page with the context, I'll pass it back to Rachel so we can move into the question and comment period.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please, everyone, remember to unmute yourself when you are promoted to a panelist to share your question or comment. Okay. And please use the raise hand at the bottom of the screen.
While people are thinking about the questions that they may have, I do want to let folks know that we will be holding an in-person town hall in Niwot on October 12th at the Niwot Grange from 5:30 to 7, and we will hopefully be getting more people there who may have questions or comments they'd like to make about the local minimum wage. And then we also will have a public hearing that will be in person or virtual on November 2nd, starting at noon, and information about how to attend that is on our websites.
Wonderful. Okay, we do have one question from Ken.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you for taking time to answer my question, and I appreciate the information. I do have a few questions. First, regarding to the report from Denver. First, can we download a report from that Denver study? My second question is, the time frame for that report is during 2021 and 22, which were in the thick of the pandemic. The labor force were so tight, and business will be able to, were willing to hire anyone with almost any kind of wage. So do you think those are typical time we should refer to? Should we wait a little bit longer for a longer period study to find out how that impact on the unemployment rate? And the last but not least is, if we were going to increase the minimum wage, will there be some kind of employee retention credit that can be offered from the county to help business with that?
Yeah, thank you very much for those questions. So we will post in the chat, it may already be there. Yep, there it is. You can see the link to the study and the report on the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment website. Okay, I just have a note there that they actually can't see the chat, so it will be emailed to all the panelists. Yeah, and then you can review the methodology for the report and all the data that they provided. I understand your question about the time frame for the report. And of course, immediately after Denver adopted the minimum wage, everybody, we went into lockdown for the pandemic, and very few people were able to work, only essential workers and those who were fortunate enough to work from home. We now do have 2 years of data, and I think what's really important about this is not so much Denver in all by itself isolated, it's Denver relative to other communities, because everybody was more or less in the same condition as far as the effects of COVID. And so if the minimum wage were harmful to the local economy, then even though we were all in a pandemic, we would have expected to see different outcomes in Denver. And in fact, they did better with regard to unemployment and sales tax revenues. So that's my interpretation of that report and that data. Your last question about employee retention credit that the county can offer, we are unable to provide that kind of benefit to businesses in Boulder County. However, we will be exploring what we can do to provide additional support to the Small Business Development Center that may be able to help with things like your payroll system and other kinds of assistance that they may be able to provide, not monetary assistance, but technical assistance regarding implementation and any resources that might be available to assist in that way. So I hope I answered all your questions. And
Thank you. You does. I just want to piggyback on the report that I do still kind of skeptical on how little data we've received for only 2 years, and also those are non-typical time during COVID. Because I'm a small business in Boulder, and what I heard from business that other business in Denver is, once the employment environment become better, people start letting people go because it's just too expensive to keep them. And also some of those businesses start moving out of Denver because the same thing. So I just wish we could wait a little longer to get more data after COVID, like 2023, or even 2024, before we make a decision to raise our minimum wage, so that we can be better informed with more data.
okay, thank you. And thank you for your input. And I am taking notes, and I know our staff is as well. And I will share your comments and concerns with my fellow commissioners. So we're here to take questions from folks who have joined us. We're not going to have an extended dialogue at this time, but I really thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Yes, thank you. So we have one question in the chat that I'm going to read. Could you explain the process for the counties, municipalities, adopting self-sufficiency wage? Also, the work of the working group and the coalition.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the question. So each municipality in Boulder County will be making their own decision. Their city councils are empowered to do that. And they will make those decisions in the time frame that they feel is appropriate. At this time, all of them that we've had discussions with the exception, I believe, of Superior and Lyons, are targeting January 1st, 2025 to address a local minimum wage. We are allowed by law to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the municipalities in Boulder County so that we can have a unified minimum wage. And that is our goal for the ease of employers and employees, so they know what they're eligible to make. You may be wondering why it's all with reference to January 1st of either 2024 or 2025. And that goes back to the law, which says that any local minimum wage increase can only take effect on January 1st, which is when the state minimum wage also is adjusted based on the consumer price index. Did I answer the question fully? I think so.
I think so. We'll give it, we'll watch in case we get another comment. Okay.
There was I think there was an additional aspect of the question around the coalition that is supporting, that's advocating for this. And the coalition continues to work and advocate with local governments here to encourage them to act more quickly. So, and that coalition consists of our family resource centers, labor representatives, social justice advocates, and I know that they continue to do that advocacy.
Thank you. We did get a comment that the question was answered, and then just a follow-up comment, not a question. We as a community cannot rely only on government resources to supply basic human needs, but also on employers. Thank you for your comment. And we have another question. As the county looks at the future minimum wage, would a separate unemancipated minor wage be up for consideration? I'm hearing from businesses that they will likely just stop hiring high school students because they can't afford the extra support that young adults need, plus these wages.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That is one of the options that the law allows us to take. We can have a different minimum wage or just not increase the minimum wage above the states for unemancipated minors. At this time, we're not proposing to do that. However, the purpose of these listening sessions, the town hall and our public hearing that I already mentioned, is to get that input so that what we adopt as our minimum wage ordinance will reflect the needs and concerns of the community. I also want to point out that we can take future action if what we have determined to do as of January 1st, 2024 needs to be adjusted. The law does allow us, effective January 1st of any subsequent year, to modify our original actions.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the attendees to please use the raise hand feature and we can promote you to a panelist and then you can come off mute to ask any questions or make a comment. Next question, Commissioner Levy. Will this apply to businesses that have less than 10 employees?
Yes, it will. Excuse me. As you probably, any employer already knows, minimum wage laws apply regardless of the size of the business, and that continues to be the case.
And a follow-up question to that, will it also apply to nonprofit organizations?
And there again, if they employ people and they meet the definition of employment, it applies regardless of whether you're for-profit, not-for-profit, large, small. The state and local minimum wage laws apply. So yes, that is the short answer.
Thank you. Next, we're wondering, what do we need to do differently once this becomes effective as a business? Do we need to post a notice or is there a required employee notification?
So yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, as with the wage and hour laws that apply based on the state minimum wage, it is important to have that notice posted where you post your other notices that are required, such as the workers' compensation notices, etc. And the state administers that and specifies the content of those notices. That's not something that we do at the local level. I'll also note one question that has come up in other contexts is how will people know what the minimum wage is in unincorporated Boulder County? And every year, just prior to January 1st, the Department of Labor and Employment does post on their website what the new minimum wage will be based on the Consumer Price Index. And going forward, they will be posting the minimum wage for the city and county of Denver, for Edgewater, and for Boulder County. So if you're accustomed to going there to see how you need to adjust your minimum wage already, nothing will change. You will go there and you'll get the precise amount for unincorporated Boulder County.
Thank you. And what if the employee is actually employed in a city and not in the unincorporated county?
Yeah, great question. So the minimum wage is based on where the person does their work. And so if they are employed say in the city of Boulder or in Louisville, and that's where the employer is, and that's where they do their work physically, then the county minimum wage law will not be applicable. However, if a business is based in a municipality, but the employees, do their work in unincorporated Boulder County, and the one that comes to mind most immediately is landscape companies, then if they work 4 hours a week or more in unincorporated Boulder County, anywhere in unincorporated Boulder County, then the minimum wage law applies to them for the time that they are doing that work.
Thank you very much. We have another question in the chat I'm going to read. If the goal is to solve the affordable housing issue, do we have studies from Denver showing the impacts of their increasing minimum wages on the Denver housing problem?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The scope of the study that the Department of Labor and Employment has done only addresses the economic impact. As most of you probably know, affordability of housing is a very, very complex and very pressing matter. And so we're trying to approach that really from two prongs. One is by taking action to increase the local minimum wage. However, I think we understand that there's such a big gap between what a person earning the minimum wage would earn and the cost of housing, that alone will not be sufficient. And so we, along with our municipalities, work very hard to increase the amount of affordable housing through our housing authority, through Boulder Housing Partners and the Longmont Housing Authority. And then this is a great opportunity for me to share that on the ballot in November, you'll see County Issue 1B, which is a proposal to take an expiring sales tax and rededicate it to affordable housing. And that will help us accelerate the amount of affordable housing that we can provide throughout Boulder County. And those funds, it'll be starting at between $16 and $17 million a year, effective January 1st, 2025, that we will be distributing throughout Boulder County so that we can increase our stock of affordable housing and increase the amount of rental assistance we're able to provide.
Thank you. And so how will this increase apply to tipped workers?
Okay, yeah. So when Colorado first departed from the federal minimum wage, I believe that was back in 2003 or 4. And this was done in the Colorado Constitution by the voters. That original action established a differential of $3.02 an hour, so that tipped workers can be paid $3.02 an hour less than the minimum wage. And that increase, or that increment, has remained in law ever since. And that will apply to any local minimum wage that is adopted in Boulder County or anywhere else. And so how that works is if the worker receives enough tips to bring their minimum wage up to the local minimum wage from that $3.02 difference, then they're allowed to be paid as much as $3.02 an hour less. However, if their tips aren't sufficient to bring their effective minimum wage up to the county standard, then the employer has to make up the difference.
Thank you. And what if all my employees are already making over the proposed minimum wage increase?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And we know from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that most workers, 90% in fact of the workers all across Boulder County are already making more than our proposed minimum wage increase of $15.69 an hour. And so if you're already paying over that amount, there's no obligation to increase your wages.
Thank you. And will this apply to minors, people under 18 years of age?
Yes, it will. And I think that question was asked previously. It will apply to all employees in unincorporated Boulder County.
Great, thank you. And will you please remind us again, when will the local minimum wage become effective?
Yeah, it will be effective on January 1st, 2024. We will be adopting an ordinance, and that's the way that we're required to do this, that will set out that effective amount, the date that it becomes effective, and the amount by which we will be increasing the minimum wage on an annual basis. And once again, we will be taking additional comment at our town hall at the Niwot Grange, and that is on October 12th. And we will be holding a public hearing on the ordinance, which will have all the information in it, and that will be on November 2nd. And there's an opportunity to participate in person or virtually.
Wonderful, thank you. And this is going back to the notice or required notification. Will there be any sample available of any required posting or notice?
Yes, I believe the ordinance contains that language. I've seen a draft of that ordinance, and if it's not in there, there are samples on the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment's website. We can add that language to our Boulder County minimum wage webpage so that employers will have the time it takes to generate that notice and make sure that it's posted.
Great, thank you. Just another reminder for any attendees who want to give a comment or ask a question, please go ahead and raise your hand, or you can enter it into the Q&A field and we'll go ahead and receive that. And I do have one question for the audience. Are there other policies you would like elected officials to consider changing that may offset any impact of an increased minimum wage? And please feel free to raise your hand and we can promote you to a panelist to share any feedback. Okay. So at this time, we don't have any further questions or comments. So I want to thank all the listeners and participants for joining this morning, and special thanks to Commissioner Levy and to the Boulder County staff for organizing everything. The next session will be facilitated by the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County on Monday, October 2nd at 5 p.m. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Commissioner Levy to go ahead and close us out this morning.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again, Rachel, for facilitating our listening session this morning and for moderating the questions. And I want to thank those of you who joined us. I can see that there are more participants than those who raised their hands to ask questions. We just really appreciate that your input and you know, whether you support or don't support. I hope that that you do submit your comments into the survey. I have taken notes. You may have seen me looking off to the side. That was me taking notes on the questions that were posed and entered into the Q&A. So I'll just close by thanking you all for joining us at this early hour this morning. And thanks to Boulder County staff for setting this up. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.